Hey, we're working on this song, and things have come a long way since I worked on the arrangement. So I'm starting to, kind of recreate based on my reference track, which is the Weeknd song "Save Your Tears." But really, I'm just using that as a guide for the arrangement, and then also as inspiration for sort of the shell of this song. So I completely have full intention of the arrangement is probably going to get tweaked based on lyrical content that eventually is going to come in. Chord progressions might change. All this stuff needs to be flexible at this point. But what you're going to hear is very much not a copy of, but a mimic with some different ideas thrown in of that Weeknd tune. And what I want to do is be able to kind of go through and show you a couple of the things that sort of inspired me along the way and kind of how I first got started and then started to build things. So let's just listen from the beginning and I don't know, maybe we'll listen through the pre-chorus or something like that, but you'll get an idea for what it's all sounding like. Okay, and then we go back into the verse and we can proceed all the way through this. But you get the general gist of it. And again, none of this stuff is perfected or solidified. This is all subject to change, which I think is really important to keep in mind. And also, the sounds themselves have not been completely decided on. I've just found in my workflow that if I spend all my time trying to browse through patches and find just the right sound, that I'm going to wind up spending all the time that I have allotted to creativity just sifting through patch after patch after patch. So sometimes this is just a really quick decision that gets me, kinda. Maybe that kick and snare sound are real dry and bland, but I'm not doing any mixing yet. I'm just putting things in so I can really build the song, and then we're going to start tweaking this stuff as we go. But I do kind of want to explore around the session so you can get an idea of how this all started. So really it all started with the chord progression and my piano. So I also wanted to kind of show you the things that are happening in Propellerhead's Reason here. What I've got is this piano pad sound, so let's listen to that. And that's just the loop right there. What I've done, though, is, I'm using the tools and the technology shamelessly because they're there. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I can play piano, but I'm using the Scales and Chords player. That's one of the new tools inside this Propellerhead Reason Studio deal. And so I'm playing single keys, and I've set D major and what inversion and how many notes I want in my chords to be played back for me. So all that stuff is kind of figured out. That way, I can just drag and drop that information onto other sounds in the future. And then I can further tweak and change the inversions if you're, a music theory kind of nut. You want to, build your chords in that sort of way. But really, when I was just sort of messing around and inspired by the Weeknd, I just needed to come up with a chord progression. So here it is. D major to B minor, F sharp minor, and G, over and over again, as any pop song would. And are there changes to that chord progression in certain parts of the song arrangement? Sure. Yeah, there absolutely are. But nothing crazy. It's very formulaic. And it's sort of a guilty pleasure pop song, which is what I'm going for. Then it was all about getting a little bit of the groove, which I found coming from the bass. So let's listen to that verse section again, but just the bass now. Now, you're probably noticing that it's got this sort of fluctuating volume level. determined on your engineering experience, maybe your ears tell you exactly what that is. It's in sort of the mixing stage, this would be known as sidechain compression. And what that means is that I'm using some other sound source to trigger audio compression on the bass. So it's not the bass signal itself that's triggering the compression to sort of pull down the dynamic range on it. It's actually a different source. And normally in this genre of music, that's like a 4-on-the-floor kick drum. So every time the kick hits, you get this sort of pulsating quarter note sort of feel. Now, the way this is working currently in my session, I'm not actually doing physical sidechaining. I'm using this effects unit to apply a sidechain type effect to my bass sound. And this can be copied and pasted in those settings, put on other things. What's important about this is the level of intensity to which that's happening. So if I play that bass, this would be the original bass. I'll pull this effects unit all the way dry. Right, real stale and stagnant. When we start to dial this in, and you start to feel that pumping. If I pull this all the way wet, it's going to be like that eighth note, that and, it's going to be completely, the downbeat is going to be completely ghosted. I don't want that. Just want to feel the groovy danciness of that vibe. So I'm just dialing it in like 2/3 of the way up, and that's giving me the sound that I want. Okay, after that, it was just the basic drum beat. So it's just kick, snare, and hi-hat eighth notes. So, kick on 1 and 3 and snare on 2 and 4 and the hi-hats. So let's just include all of those. And really that's the pattern, and it comes in and out at different spots, and then sometimes the hi-hat goes away. But with the exception of a couple of other sounds that are used as to accentuate very, very specific moments, transitions in the arrangement and whatever, that's kind of the basic gist of it right there. Now, I will likely go through and double or triple these up with additional kick and snare sounds to make them what I want them to be, because these are just placeholder sounds. But this has given me the groove that I need to continue doing all the things, to continue moving on. All right, and I guess I should backtrack a little and talk about that sidechain compression thing. Normally, I would wait until the mixing stage to do something like that, but that is crucial to developing the song, so I needed to make sure that I got that done. Otherwise, I'm going to save my EQ, my other effects processing, adding reverb to things likely until the very end. So this is all about just getting, the meat and potatoes of my song arrangement going. Let's quickly explore. You can hear in the Weeknd song, or also when we get to like the pre-chorus, we need to keep the song driving and momentum moving forward. So a lot of times we're like adding new additional things. So I added a bass synthesizer to give it a little bit more oomph and drive at that point. Now it's the exact same pattern, just copy and paste it onto a new sound. So we can go from, you can listen to just the electric bass sound to adding the synth bass sound. Let's listen. Here it comes. So not crazy, but again, it's just duplicated the content on there and onto a different patch to sort of exaggerate that sound during that particular part of the arrangement. The only other things that are really happening, I've got this like, sampled acoustic guitar happening in the verses, playing along with the other things, and I've done some broad stroke mixing, so I just lowered the volume level of that one a little bit. And that might go away completely, or it might be replaced by a different sort of piano sound, or like a Rhodes or something like that I tend to like. But it's working for right now, and I think that's fine with me. So really the last bit of stuff that I had to go through was add like a couple of these little claps. Like if you hear at the end of the intro, you'll hear a little rim shot. You know, I've started to play some of those things in, but again, they're probably going to change. I think the only other really important step is the breakdown is kind of like a completely different section. And here, it's an interesting one. I have two sounds sort of combined for it. And if you look, I've actually got that same like scales and chords device playing the chords. So I'm really just using one finger, one note at a time to trigger the chords. But then also this dual arpeggio thing is taking that chord and arpeggiating it at two different ways that are completely different. One going forward, one going backward on different levels. And it's giving me some cool results, all based on that same chord progression that is now just inverted and using the open chords function to spread it out on the keyboard a little bit. So, you know, that really kind of completes my arrangement for now. The next steps for me are I'm going to fill in the rest of the blanks of this, of these other little rhythmic things that are going to help the flow of the arrangement. And I'm going to start perfecting my sounds a little bit more. And then I'm already going to be starting to give out this rough mix to potential vocalists and be like, hey, we need a top line. Can you come up with some melodies? Let's start thinking about lyrical content. What is this going to be about? What does it feel like? You know, I'm just not that emotional kind of person that has all like the hurt feelings and is writing all this stuff down in a journal. I need help with that kind of stuff. So the sooner that I can get these ideas out and hopefully inspiring other people for it, the better. I think also to make this a little bit different, I'm going to be reaching out to a female vocalist, but also to potentially like a rapper. See if I can get like a female top line in there with like, I don't know, some accents by a rapper or like a couple of verses, and we'll just kind of see where it goes. But it's starting to feel like maybe, just maybe, this is going to wind up needing to have a little bit of like some trap style hi-hat things happening in there, and a rapper might make it sound kind of cool. So hopefully this is inspiring you to keep going with what you've got. It's really time to finish up the core and relax about all the details and how it all sounds, as long as we've got the main ideas all laid out there, and then we can focus on tweaking. All right, I will see you next time.